Well, we say, don't we, that the word epiphany means manifestation, but I mean, manifestation is rather a heavy kind of word. And what we should think of through that word is of light bursting out, light exploding, and this is the epi bit from the beginning of the word, falling on us, cascading on us. So there's this great light that shines out and floods us. Well, this is a very beautiful feast, and in the church's mind, a very big one. And listening to the gospel, a wonderful story. What happens today? Well, we could say, what happens today, first of all, I've got three things in my mind, but first of all, that Christmas goes viral, we might say. Christmas goes global. What until then has just been hidden among the villages of Bethlehem, which maybe got a column in the Bethlehem Courier or a mention in the Shepherd's Weekly, has suddenly been picked up in Jerusalem by the government. This is a little bit ominous, by Herod and the establishment there. It's as if the CIA are onto it. And most importantly, it's been picked up far away in the east. It had already been picked up some time before. And the wise men, these mysterious figures, come to Jerusalem and they say, "Where is the infant King of the Jews? We saw his star as it rose and have come to do him homage." These were men who spent their days, we might say, browsing or surfing the sky, looking at the stars, and they'd picked up a message there. Today, we can say the incarnation detonates. It goes out there, and it's known, picked up so far away. Epiphany is to Christmas rather what Pentecost is to Easter. At Pentecost, the message of Christ's death and resurrection goes global. People heard, you remember, after the coming of the wind and the tongues of fire, Peter speaks, Peter proclaims the resurrection of the Lord, and everybody hears what he has to say in their own language. And he said there were Jews there from every nation under heaven. So the Church Universal, the Catholic Church, was born at Pentecost, and it's the same dynamic today. To be precise, it's a sign that it's going to happen. These wise men were a beginning. They were the first fruits. They were searching scientists. They were religious seekers. They were representatives of the vast non-Jewish world. All nations shall fall prostrate before you, O Lord, and the nations come to your light, and kings to your dawning brightness. There are many prophecies in the Old Testament of this, that this would happen, that the nations would come, let go of their idolatry, worship the true God. And today's heroes, these intrepid fellows, they are the beginning of that. If they came from modern-day Iran, which seems likely, well, if you Google what is the distance from Tehran to Jerusalem, you're told it's almost 1,000 miles as the crow flies, but a great deal more by road and a slow journey by camel. And yet they came. On they went. And as they went, they must have gradually unlearnt their idolatries. They were following the star of their research, following the star of their conscience, and they were fueled by an inner hope. And they, in turn, became a prophecy. They are a prophecy of everyone who, through the centuries, since Pentecost, since the Epiphany, will find their way to faith. All the Gentiles, us included. We have followed in the footsteps of these guys. We have made the same journey. This mystery means, says St. Paul, that pagans now share the same inheritance. They are parts of the same body, and that the same promise has been made to them in Jesus Christ through the gospel. So Epiphany, too, is a birthday of the Church Universal. It foreshadows the regathering of poor scattered humanity, the Father's prodigal sons and daughters, the regathering of us around the person of his Son. It reminds us that Christianity is global because Christ, as St. John Paul II would say, is for the whole of humanity and for the whole of each of us, the whole man, the whole person, not someone to be imposed, but proposed. Not someone who has come to crush or diminish who and what we are, but to enlarge it, to heal us, and to make us whole, and to call out, as it were, the hidden beauty that there is in each of us, not to divide us, but to bring us together. And we might reflect today just how much further, or again, every generation, I suppose, how much further Christmas, the incarnation, has to go in each of us and in the whole world. These men came from the East. How can we not, at least I find myself on a day like this, thinking of China, that great land to the east. Great land to the east. It's the star rising there as well. Well, the second thing is they say, we have come to do him homage. That was their simple goal from the very beginning. It's very beautiful, that. To worship, to adore. And where do they fulfill it? Not in the magnificent temple of Herod, not there, but in a small rented house in an insignificant village. There they find Mary and her child, and going into the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and falling to their knees, they did him homage. They worshipped him. There's no more mention of the star from that point on, because the star with a capital S is actually in the arms of Mary. It's a beautiful moment, because this is the moment when these men find their final freedom. They become free. As they fall down in front of the Lord, who is the Lord of heaven and earth, hidden in this tiny child, then all the idolatries, all the false gods, all the misguided worship of the pagan world, of the Gentile world, falls to the ground and turns into dust. And they are able to then give their gifts. The beautiful things that the nations have can now be brought to the feet of this child. We're made to worship, and we're made to yield to what is there before us and what is greater than us. We're made for that. And our tragedy is that we get waylaid. We worship what maybe should be respected, should be honored, so on, but does not deserve our whole self. Pleasure, possessions, power, or our own dear egos. Okay, we fall down and often worship them, and so we become slaves. But the wise men, as it were, redirected all that. And what they did, Mary was already doing in their heart. It's what we do in our liturgy. It's what we do in Eucharistic adoration. This is where Holy Mother Church is always leading us away from false gods, away from our idolatries, to the freedom of the children of God. Okay, now last thing, they go back home. They were warned in a dream not to go back to Herod and returned to their country by a different way. Well, this is us again. Their journey is our journey. We've come to faith. We have met Jesus. We've entered the house of the church, where Mary, who in a way is the church, shows us Jesus. And we've worshipped and we've offered our gifts. Then we go back to our own country, to our own lives. But they went back by a different way, with a different attitude, with a different outlook, living a different life, free of the worship of idols. And surely the wise men became missionary disciples quite naturally, quite quietly. They'd found a joy that no one could take from them. They must have shone a little. Perhaps when they got home, their wives noticed a difference, a subtle improvement. You never know. Maybe. And they must have aroused curiosity in their colleagues. They must have posed a question. And on the way back, this is an interesting detail. They just slipped past the hostility of Herod. They were warned in a dream not to go back to Herod. And they weren't put off their stride by opposition. They just kept on. They didn't get entangled in useless arguments. They didn't use political methods. They left the merchants of darkness to their own devices. Warned in a dream, guided by a dream. Now, a star, they'd had the star before, a star is something outside, but a dream is something inside us. And their real dream, their lasting dream, was the memory of Christ, of this child and his mother. They'd never forget him. They'd never forget them. That was their compass from then on. So may each of us have this same dream and be guided by it. May each of us be, if you like, the social media that communicate Jesus, through whom Jesus can go viral, can go global. May each of us be a star that points to the star, who is Christ. May each of us be an epiphany of someone greater than ourselves. And may all of us long for his light, his epiphany, to shine out over the whole world.